Right, okay, quite a serious one. So today, a guy called Marcus Monzo, does anyone know who he is?
No.
Right, so last year, April, I believe it was last year, April, there was an attack on a 14-year-old boy who was almost decapitated by a man. So you guys know about it because we discussed it. So he was convicted today. So he was convicted today of murder. I think it was one count of murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, and 1 count of, I think it was grievous bodily harm. Grievous bodily harm is because when he was trying to flee from the police after he killed the boy, he ran into someone's house where they had the mum, the dad, and the child rough them up, basically. The issue with it is that what's come of it, so that's happened. Guilty, should be guilty, you know what I mean? Like, lock away, throw him in a cell and lock away the key. But what his defense said is that this was part of a psychotic episode, which came from the fact that he smoked cannabis, which has now brought a debate to say, should cannabis be banned?
Reclass?
Banned, full stop, in the UK, because it causes this element of psychosis. Now, I don't know how many cases we had of this in the UK, but there's a big debate. Now, I know, like, I'm talking about this, and enough of my bedroom's like, "Raw, Rain, what are you talking about this for? We have to ban," you know what I mean? But what's your guys' thoughts on the banning of cannabis?
I have a very controversial stance.
Go for it.
So, unknown to many, the UK is one of Europe's top producers of medicinal cannabis.
Really?
Yeah. So trying to get that through a court, because if it's a total ban, then you're also including medicinal. And unfortunately, and obviously condolences go out to this young boy that's lost his life, they do the risk versus reward.
Daniel Anjorin. Sorry, I should have said his name out of respect. R.I.P. to Daniel Anjorin, 14 years old.
So out of risk versus reward, I doubt that based on this case alone, it will bring to a point where they're going to say, for the tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands that are benefiting from medicinal cannabis, that this episode will remove this product from the market.
Okay.
My view is that it's an excuse. Forget about the fact of for me, the cannabis debate is a sideshow to what actually took place, because the story was very harrowing about what happened. It was an excuse to say, well, he was under the influence and that is the reason why he did what he did. Ultimately, I don't think the cannabis debate should be linked in any way to what he did, because we don't link.
But that's the defense, though.
Yeah,
It's a very easy way.
But we
though,
don't,
isn't it?
because we don't link what happened in Southport to anything that the boy went through.
Bro.
We don't.
Fair enough.
So why are we now linking cannabis and his cannabis use? No, he killed people. He killed someone. He tried to kill many people.
Yes.
That's it. That's the bottom line.
With a sword.
So if you want to talk about he was so high on the drugs and whatever.
Well, no, not that he was high. The amount that he smoked has called a psychotic episode. So what they're saying is, if you smoke weed
This much,
it will lead you to do this. There's a study which has said is that if you start smoking weed at, I think it's between the age of 15 to 18, your brain isn't fully developed. Therefore, it changes your brain chemistry. Now, I've always heard that, and I'm not a weed man, so I don't smoke, but my bedrooms smoke. But they will say, "Raw, it's the seeds."
What I can say in terms of weed now, I've seen the effects of someone having a breakdown.
Bad reaction to it.
No, a breakdown. They actually had a proper breakdown. He weren't talking to nobody. I just go and one of my close friends, I go and chat to him. I talk to him through a door because he was that heavily smoking and that heavily affected by it. It doesn't affect people. I mean, people like to try and lighten how it affects people's mental state. It affects people's mental state very heavily. So for me, I think we underestimate the effects that weed has. But I don't think it should be linked in any way to what took place.
2 comments, we're going to move on. You, then you.
So I'm not a smoker or the weed cakes or the teas or whatever. However, we know there are different strands. There is the natural strand and there's all of these artificial, these mix and blends and whatever else.
Like, if you know Cat Williams, but yeah.
So what I would, I suppose, suggest and put out there is for those that are twisting and combining and doing all of these chemical combinations, the outcomes to those cannot be classed the same way of someone that's smoking potentially a natural herb that's grown on God's green earth,
King Solomon's grave,
around the corner, buddy.
So
final point.
All right, mine's a little bit long-winded, but first and foremost, I don't believe they should ban it. All right. However, all right, there are certain things that I would actually say about it. Weed affects every person differently.
Yes, I agree.
And people don't understand that. Do you know what I mean? And this comes from, there's probably a few of us in the room that's done it. All right. I mean, I've tasted a weed cake, for example, before. All right.
Same.
And
overseas legally.
But I had a weed cake and it don't have that nice effect on myself. For example,
you didn't have the right one.
Lace with crack.
Idiot. Because I know you've had one and it messed you up. So let's not even go into that.
As I said,
was it the same cake?
As I said, lace with crack.
And he's had one.
Was it the same cake as yours?
Nah, not the same one.
Okay, so
but
their
anyway,
ones might have been the real thing, and yours might be.
We had and it didn't send them to a good place. All right. So all I'm saying to you,
I was crying.
I never said I was crying, but you was definitely doing
Let's
something.
put it this way. MLS don't make cakes, but if they make cakes.
Go on, buddy, quickly.
Yeah, so basically it affects everybody differently, innit? And I would say to everybody, like, so when he's come up with saying to himself he had that episode, he could have had a psychotic break, and that might be the reason that he done what he did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? However, that obviously doesn't make him any less accountable for what happened. However, he shouldn't have had the weed in the first place if that's the case. But know to yourself it can affect you differently, and it does affect everybody differently. And some people need to take things in different portions and so on and so forth. So they just need to be a bit more cautious of how they're doing it.